Hello and welcome back to Professionalism. This is the Top Drive Show, episode 5, and we are back in the correct room with the microphones and everything the way it should be. Hopefully you know the rules by now. We are here to answer your questions. So if you have a question for us at the end of this episode, leave it in a comment down below. The comments that get the most likes, we will put in a shortlist and answer those next time. So make sure if you like someone else's question, give them a like. That's going to help them get seen. We are here now at episode 5, which is pretty cool, and we've got some content. We missed the post-launch 7 update last time, but we are now here and we've got all sorts of things to talk about. I'm joined by only one person today. That's Jon. Hi, Jon.
Hello.
Tim would be sitting over there. He's sort of disappeared into the ether. So today, Tim visible, I guess. It's not even that funny.
But hopefully back for the next one.
Yes, let's hope. Yes, we don't want to lose him for too long. Everybody keeps going missing. I'm the only one who's constant in this at the moment. But we've got questions. We've got upgraded cars. We've got all sorts of stuff. So shall we jump in with some questions?
Sure. Let's go for it.
Cool.
As long as they're not too hard.
So the first question comes from Casual Mobile Gaming, who's a long-time fan of Top Drives. You have earned yourself a carbon fiber pack, so well done. Casual Mobile Gaming asks, do we have any plans to implement some kind of team/crew wars? Since the slots are limited for each one, people within a team could specialize on different tracks, like one guy has the deck for all the fast tracks while another one builds an off-road deck. Any plans around this area? Now, this comment got a miraculous, I think, at the time I measured it, a 98 upvotes. It's probably 100 now. That's a lot of upvotes.
Yeah, so obviously I think we have touched on this in the past. I'm not sort of in a position at the moment to confirm exact plans or kind of what's happening, but like I say, I think we did talk about this before, and it's, I can definitely confirm that we do see the potential in this. It's as suggested, there's something compelling about the idea of people coming together in a crew, in a team, with their different strengths of garage and kind of mixing that in together, finding the people who are better in certain events and than other ones. So definitely see the big potential. It's something we do want to do, and really at the moment we are exploring it sort of in depth, in terms of finding the right format for a team event, or for a team feature in Top Drives, and it's going well. There's something that's definitely taking shape, but just not quite in a position to sort of confirm exactly what that is and exactly when that's coming out. But I can confirm that we are, the team is pushing hard on it, and it's a priority for them as well.
Cool, great. So yeah, just to reiterate there, Casual Mobile Gaming gets a carbon fiber pack. If you're one of the top special Hutch picks, then you can get yourself a pack too, just as a little incentive. So go ahead and leave your really good questions. Our next question, also getting a carbon fiber pack, goes to Panos Liaskos, I hope I said that right, asking, can we please add an option to switch to kilometers an hour? So I'm going to change that question slightly. Can we have metric is essentially the question, isn't it? Can we have metric?
So it would be really nice. We know this. I know how, I definitely understand how frustrating it can be when we've got these two, sort of unit systems out there, and stuff just looks weird when it's in the unit system that you're not used to. Yeah. In all honesty, I know it doesn't help the players out there. It's been a task that's actually been sat in our sort of tracking system for a very long time now, and just very aware that it's something that it's a kind of quality of life feature for people, but something that we do want to do. It has some complications
Yeah.
in terms of actually getting it into the game. Because we have all these different challenges, and some of them talk about distance, and then we have other challenges which are say kind of not to 100 miles an hour and things like that. Those don't translate across neatly.
Yeah.
So basically, when we've looked at it, we'd like to do it, but when we get to it as a task, it has these kind of knock-on questions that come up that we don't actually have particularly easy answers for.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to, by changing sort of unit system, we don't want to then have people having different challenges and things like that. That gets horribly complicated. Mm-hmm. But it does. It's something that we basically need to go through and kind of address all the small kind of edge case scenarios that come up with that change.
Yeah, and it's sort of worth noting that Top Drives is a game that uses a lot of mathematics underneath the hood, and as might be easily determined there by the fact that everything's in miles per hour, all of the calculations are done in Imperial, because that's how we get our car data in Imperial. So the changes would essentially have to come out on the surface and sort of be cosmetic, rather than it wouldn't be that you have metric maths.
Yes.
As much as that would satisfy me, because I'm a metric kid. But yes, so there are some transferal issues there, and stuff gets lost in translation easily.
Yeah, in a way, it's sort of not wanting to kind of fire a question back at the community, but it would actually be quite interesting if anybody wanted to comment on it, about how they would feel about say acceleration challenges that were to quite kind of strange, in between speeds.
Yeah, I think what we probably have to do one of those things where people always round it to for the old 0 to 60, people just used to write 0 to 100k as a shorthand, even though it's not technically correct.
Yes. Yeah.
But do you remember back in the olden days when people used to run the 100-yard dash?
Yes. Yeah.
Where did that go? Nowadays we do that in meters. We can do anything in meters.
So definitely something we would like to do. It's just about figuring out kind of exactly how we tackle it, just to make sure that the players are then not having kind of these kind of weird knock-on effects.
Yeah.
Or sort of strange looking challenges appear. So we'll continue to discuss it, and hopefully it's something that will make it into the game at some point.
Okay. So another thing that we wanted to do for all of you is the Top Drive show is great and all, but I'm sure that there's some other really awesome content about cars or video games and where they intersect that you might want to see. So I'm going to arrange a poll and I'll link to it up. There we go. That's 3D reasoning for you. So go ahead and take a look in there and see if there are any other kinds of content that you'd love to see on this channel, and we will do our best to make those a reality for you, because we do a lot of things over here. We make video games about cars, but we also love cars in the real world, and any opportunity to have fun, we'd like to go for that. But let's get back to some questions. So we've got one here from XNX Top Drives. I've definitely said that wrong. Getting a carbon fiber pack for this question. Have you ever considered making Top Drives packs in real life, just like all those Pokemon cards? I know it's much harder to introduce a physical product rather than develop a virtual game, but I just want to know what you think about this idea. And they also they gave a second question asking can they edit our videos or make thumbnails. I know that it's not been the most professional production recently. We were missing some very key personnel, but as you may be able to see, we're now back in business. But yes, back to physical cards.
Yeah, I mean, we've definitely considered it. Actually, when Top Drives first ever launched, we did the company did some promotion around it, and as part of that, we actually made I think it was about 50 sets of cards. They weren't huge. They were only I think there was only about 12 cars in the
I think it might somewhere between 12 and 20 cars.
Yes.
Yeah.
It just picked some we went wide. So I think we had I can't remember, there's the Mahari in there, and then some very high end stuff as well.
Sort of a few really low end cars and some really high end cars.
Yeah, just to try and show kind of what the game was about, things like that. So and there was something lovely. I think everyone got one on their desk, and it was definitely see the kind of, there's a lovely quality to them. I, in fact, actually part of the initial inspiration behind this game sort of ever existing was the fact that I was a very, very keen sort of top trumps player back in school in the kind of lunch break with cars and trucks and
I remember top trumps.
I think horror characters as well. So definitely considered it in terms of actually making that into a sort of a kind of consumer product, and getting it out into the stores and sort of bringing a bit of structure to it. That we haven't quite gone that far.
Yeah.
But I know as a company we're keen to kind of explore the kind of physical merchandise space a little bit more. And so it's something that's not very top of the list, but it's definitely sort of it's not going to go away.
Yeah.
And I think we would just have to have a think about what form it actually took, as in whether we were trying to, was it just a Trump's type game?
Yeah, because that's what I was about to say. The fact that all of the challenges in Top Drives use multiple stats on top of each other, you know, in a context. Whereas if you've just got the cards specs in front of you, that context is lost on you. You can only really compare the bare bone numbers. Yeah.
So I think it's exactly like you're saying. It's sort of the stats that we choose, or the stats that in the game were sort of chosen because of the way the game works, and to make that the best thing. I think if we're doing a physical car game, it might be that some other stats are more interesting. Like I always remember back in the day that it was like engine capacity. That was like the big one, because you have such a huge range, and seeing the crazy 8-liter car that somebody's got, it's you want that huge kind of variation. So it's definitely requires a bit of creative thought. But
we need to find a way to reconcile the mid-range acceleration conundrum. Which everybody loves, obviously.
You struggle to do that with a pen and paper in the real life, wouldn't you?
Yes. So that's it for the carbon fiber picks, but we've got some more questions that we thought were particularly good. So here comes a question from Enderfailer asking, can we please add a feature that lets players decide at which speed they watch the races? Some people do want to watch it at real time, but some like it sped up. It would be a much better option if we could decide what speed, rather than just sort of holding the screen to make it zip off into the distance.
So agree with the suggestion, and actually I'll definitely sort of, I think this is one that we should kind of add back into the list of things to get looked at as a kind of quality of life feature. Personally, I it's sort of one of my suggestions that didn't quite make it in was that I think at the moment, if you could potentially, you obviously just hold the screen to speed it up. I think it's 4 times, but I kind of like the idea, if you held the right it sped it up, if you held the left it ran it actually at real time. Because by default most of our challenges are run at 4 times, and it's, I mean, that's that's obviously that's a big speed up from real life, but
some of them are driving sort of a couple of kilometers.
But it's just the fact that real life, just when you're viewing it, kind of cars going around a track can actually look really quite slow. I think I always remember the star in the car feature in Top Gear. They would, I think everyone always commented about how slow they were, so depressed at how slow they looked.
We had the same thing, that when we were doing those 1-lap challenges for Twin Town with our cars, looking back at the footage of that, especially the POV footage from the GoPro, it looks so docile.
Yes.
But when you're actually sitting in the car, it's much more intense, and you feel it more.
So we would like to, I'd love to get back in the real time option, and then, like suggested, we could even go faster than what we have at the moment. We are actually working on a particularly long challenge at the moment, which is an interesting one, because I think we're going to have to ramp up the default playback speed quite considerably on that. But it's one I think we'll make sure this goes onto the list and is discussed as one of the next features.
There you go. Our next question comes from Stefan B.A., who asks, as you mentioned in the previous episode, 1, we like the variation that is on the cars in Top Drives, and I agree, they say. What if you could only use one unique car, not duplicates? It would make people use more cars, and it would make it fun to see dirt tracks without so many Datsuns.
I think if you don't have one of those Datsuns, it's a bit sad to see them popping up in challenges as your opponent. It's a really good idea. I don't want to make any kind of, I could probably get myself in trouble by making big bold claims. I would need to double check this with the team, but I know it's been discussed, this idea, because we're very aware that it's actually just not that interesting to have a challenge pop up and your opponent has 5 of the same cars. It's you want the variation. We've talked about it before. It's a big part of the game, and actually it's a relatively minor feature to add in that you can only have every car has to be unique. Yeah,
and you want to raise a varied hand.
Yes,
that increases the likelihood that you can have interesting matchups.
Yeah, so
because otherwise people will all go down the same avenue of energy efficiency.
Yes,
which is I know exactly how much it takes to upgrade this all the way, and
and
win this challenge. So I'll just have 5 of those.
Yeah, it does. It definitely kind of it takes away some of the fun in that way. I think I'm thinking if we did it, it would probably be an event specific thing, in that we would have these sort of unique car events, and try it out in that way.
Yeah, as a filter.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that is one that I would can't confirm anything, but completely agree that it's a really good idea.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks. All right, and now we are moving on to what's been a sort of regular segment up to now, which is the top 3 popular cars. So this week we've got the top 3 legendaries, as in sort of non-prize car legendaries, and then the top 3 prize car legendaries by how much they are upgraded, which is the sort of metric that we're using to decide how popular they are.
Yeah.
So we've got some cars to look at.
Yes, we do. Obviously, basically up at this end of the game, there's really nothing like a bad car. So they're all lovely cars here. So the top 3 that we've got at the moment are 2013 Porsche 911 Turbo S, which is I think we probably have discussed the 911 Turbo in past shows a little bit. It's just in the real world and in the game, it's just an incredible all-rounder. It's sort of got everything. It's not that this comes into the game as much, but it's a compact car. It's not too heavy. It's got it's 4-wheel drive, so you've got that traction advantage which you can put to use in a number of the challenges in the game, and it's just very high top speed, incredibly fast, 0 to 60. We don't actually do anything like a kind of 0 to 30 challenge in the game, but in terms of the speed that these things leave the line, it's just unbelievable. With the engine in the rear and 4-wheel drive, you just
all of that traction.
Yeah, there's just almost nothing can touch it in terms of that traction off the line, and then just very very good high handling. So I think that's in a way it sort of makes sense. It's just a great all-round car. Next one down is Bugatti Veyron Super Sport, which was the sort of the fastest iteration of the Veyron.
Yep.
I mean this one's fairly obvious. It's just I think everybody who's into cars, Bugatti is just it's just a pretty cool thing to have in your collection. Of like the standout figures, the top speed, and it's these cars they're so immensely powerful that it it gets to that top speed, really quite quickly as well. This is not a car where it's gonna sort of crawl up to that.
It really does. It accelerates and accelerates.
Yeah. So right through the performance range across all the challenges in the game, it's just going to be a mighty car. Again, very 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 rapid off the line, and just good handling. Not the highest handling, because these are quite, for its size, it's actually quite a heavy car. It's I think it's something like 10 radiators in it. They're not the lightest cars, and that brings handling down a little bit, but still pretty good. And then finally, it is the Bugatti Chiron, which it kind of just feels like needs absolutely no introduction.
The holy grail.
It's just a very very well known car. It's Bugatti, after the Veyron was a astonishing feat of engineering.
Smash hit.
It's sort of hard. It's hard to imagine where you go next, and then they bring along the Chiron, which sort of just turns everything up, really.
Yeah. Well, I mean, who's in a better position to go faster than the Veyron than the people who made it?
Yeah. And they've done I think they've done a great job. It seems to, from all kind of reviews and road tests and everything like that, I think they've almost turned everything up. The performance was one aspect, but it sounds like driver involvement, and handling, and everything has been improved. So you just need to look at it, really. I mean, there's the astonishing top speed, unbelievably rapid off the line, 4-wheel drive, so you can use it in some dirt and gravel challenges in the wet. It's got the 4-wheel drive advantage, and then handling just that little bit up from where the Veyron was. It's not a light car, but it looks so mean with those headlights and in that color. It's a very very desirable car. So a fairly obvious why those three are sat up at the top of our most popular.
Absolutely. And now we're going to look at the most popular prize cars. That's the legendary prize cars. Some absolutely amazing vehicles in this little selection here.
Yeah, so I think when we're talking about sort of legendary prize cars, we're at the very very upper end of the top drives world. Start with the Porsche 918 Spider. I think we've actually discussed this car sort of quite a lot in early shows. It's stunning. I actually love the image that we chose for this. I think just those wheels and just the overall look of it is just absolutely stunning car. It's sort of very 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 good handling. So I mean, really we're only coming down a tiny bit from the very best handling cars in the game. Again, incredibly fast off the line, and then a really good top speed. And 4-wheel drive again, so there's no obvious kind of weakness in its armor, all on top of it looking absolutely amazing. So an obvious choice. We then go to the Pikes Peak Suzuki XL7, which not ignoring the obvious performance abilities, I love it. I love having stuff like this in the game, because it's such it's like you've given a motorsport team kind of, there'll be some constraints, but not many, and they've basically just gone off and just built this thing to be the absolutely fastest it can be up the Pikes Peak course, which is very very challenging environment for any car.
Definitely.
And I think it's got that thing that I know there's not that many challenges where the cars kind of top out, but it's got this interesting quality where I think it's pretty much the fastest thing off the line, and up to 60. 2.1 seconds is be physically painful, I think, if you were sat in the car. But it maxes out at 150, which I really like the contrast. Between that. It's
like designed for this sort of short gearing where it's going up and down like really steep, sharp straights that most of the time you're spent worrying about a hairpin.
There's no need for it to go above that, and I bet you it probably slams into that 150 mile an hour kind of gearing limit with quite a lot of anger. But it's another thing in I'm getting off topic here, but in the future I actually want to add some more kind of extreme cars that have this sort of just this different stat profile. I'd love to get a kind of I think again I might have mentioned it in the past, but a dragster in there which is incredibly fast at accelerating, but has absolutely awful handling. I think would just be a fun addition to garages.
Just further specialization.
Yes, yeah. And then finally is we just got one of my personal favorites, just absolutely stunning, Zonda 760 RS. So, we've got a few Paganis in the game. I think that the RS is sort of is very much kind of. I mean, there are some even more ultimate Zondas, but I think in terms of just as an all-round kind of driving experience. Not that I've ever driven one, unfortunately, but from what I've read, I think it's really probably the most highly regarded one, and it's pretty good across the board again. So faster top speed than the Porsche, 0 to 60 only a fraction down, and then higher handling than the Bugatti as well. I think what probably comes into play in terms of maybe what people are finding in the game and why this is popular is that Zondas are just, although they've got this huge engine in them, they're actually quite a bit lighter. They're on the light side of supercars. And so I think in challenges like G-Force or slalom or anything with rapid direction changes, the Zonda's going to kind of get that little bit of kind of extra performance advantage over definitely the big, something like the Bugatti and actually even the Porsche as well. So yeah, some nice cars.
In case it hasn't escaped your attention, in case it has escaped your attention, we have updated the game very recently, and it's got a whole new American tinge.
Yeah, so this was, I think this was one of the first update where the team were keen to kind of bring a lot of content together in a single update and kind of a single theme.
Yeah.
So it's our American Dream update. New environment, sort of Santa Monica style, kind of city on the coast, west coast of the States, sunshine and kind of sun-bleached asphalt and things like that. Mm-hmm. Several new challenges are going into that, including some of my favorites are kind of into and out of kind of car parking space, which I think just adds something a little bit different. But yeah, there's some drag races in there. There's some kind of off-road stuff with the beach, and then there's quite a bit of twisty turny stuff to really test your car's handling, and also some that actually kind of mix sort of wet and dry a bit. So hopefully people will be having fun trying out their cars and their collections in those, and then. I guess as you know, a big part of the game is obviously the cars, and so we've added quite a few new American models
and brands.
Yes, so we've got Chrysler, Dodge, Plymouth, and Ram, who are kind of all new to the game.
Yeah,
and I think bring with them some some great cars. I love there's the Plymouth Superbird. I think is a bit of a classic. It just really is, like even now it just looks like something from the future somehow. It's it's an old car now, and it just looks completely crazy.
It looks so cool.
So I think it's great having that in there. For so long that we've got a number of Dodge Vipers in there, right back from the original one, right up to kind of the ACR and kind of very sort of the latest kind of iterations and most kind of motorsport focused iterations of that car. I think it's just, I don't know, it just feels like no car game would be complete without the Viper. It's just when it came along and it with its 8 liter V10 engine. I mean, it's and just looking like it did. It's
made out of canoe parts or something.
It's just it's just got so much character to it. So I think it's great. It's great having it in the game and actually having quite a few variations of it. So I'm really looking forward to seeing collecting some myself and and coming up against that in other people's collection and events.
Yeah.
And then in terms of sort of very recent stuff, it feels like we can't really continue without mentioning the Dodge Challengers in there. So again, we've got a number of those. We've got the standard one, we've got the all-wheel drive version as well, which I think is an interesting, in terms of say a muscle car event, actually that's going to be quite a unique car, because there's very few of them are all-wheel drive.
Right.
So I think having that is going to be, adding that to your collection is going to be quite a big thing. But when we're kind of bringing the new cars into the game, the stats for the Dodge Challenger SRT Demon just defy all belief, really. I mean, looking at them here, it's just kind of bring them up. It's basically, it's got 840 brake horsepower and 771 foot-pounds of torque.
So just a few.
Yeah, it does 0 to 60 in 2.3 seconds and goes on to 203 miles an hour. It's in something that just is a absolutely classic muscle car form. It's amazing that they've actually been able to kind of harness that performance and and get it in a car, and the name and the branding is brilliant. So that is I think that would be a very cool car to add. And then also I think when we spoke to the community about cars that say were missing, or cars that they wanted or you wanted to get in, there were a number of Chevrolets that came up.
Yeah.
So we thought this was a good opportunity to do another pass on Chevy. And we've got some of their off-roaders, a number of kind of Camaros that we're missing, a few Corvettes as well. Mm-hmm. So it feels like we're now I think we've got it's not every Chevrolet. I think wouldn't go that far.
We're in a better place.
We're in a better place. And then finally, it's going to be a very, very rare car in the game indeed. But the Scuderia Cameron Glickenhaus SCG 003S has arrived.
Has it?
It's in a collection of one, so it is a little bit lonely, sat there in its manufacturer collection.
Yeah.
It is a prize car. Can't actually confirm when people will be able to win it, but it's they'll see it there, sitting in the manufacturer collection area. And again, basically one of the best handling cars in the game now. So at some point, people will be able to win that.
There you go. That's
so. Yeah, hopefully, hopefully people are playing the update, enjoying the update, starting to collect some of the new cars, and I think there's going to be a variety of events now and coming up that actually kind of require those new cars. So it's going to be good.
Wonderful. Now, another thing that we wanted to get to in advance of PL 7.0, we didn't quite manage it, is the never-ending challenge in correcting car stats. So we've got you back after you were missing last time, so we can talk about this. The conundrum.
Yeah, it is. I'm not. I feel like I'm probably not going to be able to give a sort of perfect answer or anything. It's an area that I'm heavily involved in. Obviously, I think as everyone knows, we have a great relationship with Evo Magazine and the team there. They have an incredible their own archive and access to car data, car photos, the stuff that they've tested, but a lot of it will be kind of manufacturer official figures, and it's a mix that goes into the game. When we first built Top Drives, it felt like there's obviously going to be a huge amount of car data, and we just had to accept that there were going to be bits of that data that we got wrong for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. So it's very much part of the process with every update, with every major update. It's we want to keep correcting things in a way. Yeah. Obviously, it'd be lovely if everything was absolutely flawless, but we want to keep improving it. We want to keep making the game more accurate. And the community feedback on this has been amazing. The effort that some people go to getting stats to us and getting data to us is really amazing. And we're just gonna, we're gonna keep responding to that. Yeah. The difficulty comes in the stats themselves, really. Yes. That we have a few. There's a few sort of I mean, there's obviously major. I say major differences. There's manufacturer claimed figures is one thing.
Yeah, like the nameplate capacity.
Yes, and sometimes sometimes that's what we use. But if a car is actually being tested out in the wild, and we have those figures, those feel like sort of better figures to use.
Oh yeah, because it's the performative truth.
Yes,
yeah.
And so there can be difference. People could be spotting differences between those two.
Yeah.
But then probably the biggest complicating factor is that actually even out in the wild, there's the car itself. Like, the car could be having a good day or a bad day, in terms of when it was tested. There's the driver. There's the weather conditions. There's the track surface. There's all these different things that, when you're talking about, say, 0 to 60 times, can have a fairly big impact on what that time is.
Absolutely.
So we do we try and get multiple sources. I think if there's a car that's kind of come up where it's being debated in terms of sort of its stats, and actually we talked about the Zonda 760 RS before, and it's actually in this process at the moment of almost being analysed, and we're trying to source additional stats for it. I was actually on the phone to Caterham the other day to discuss the Levant prize car that we gave away, because nobody seems to know whether it had traction control or not. And it did kind of have it, but when Evo tested it, it wasn't active.
Okay.
And so again, we've been trying to actually source whether it worked or not.
I see.
But like I say, we try and get multiple sources, particularly for the acceleration figures and the top speed. And if we have to, then we sometimes we go with kind of averages. If we've got two great sources of data and they're slightly different, then sometimes we'll average to the middle, just to be fair.
Yeah.
And actually, I was looking at a car the other day that somebody had flagged up as having the wrong 0 to 60 time, and actually quoted the manufacturer's website I think they quoted it in Germany.
Right.
And that that was great, but then I looked at the website in the US and it actually had a slightly different 0 to 60 time for that car
because of metric to imperial conversion, perhaps.
Possibly, yeah. So even those differences, but we definitely trying. We can't always correct everything. We what we don't want to do is at all costs we want to avoid jumping around with stats. So if we get, say, a new piece of data, change it, and then another new piece of data comes in and we have to change it back.
Yeah, it's a lot of...
I don't think anybody wants, because that's just, it's confusing for everyone involved.
Yeah, you want to just make the correction when you know it's definitely warranted.
Yeah. So we definitely, it's like I say, it's part of the process. We're going to keep correcting things, keep making top drives more accurate.
Yep.
But it's just there's complications to the process that mean it's not always possible just to change stats immediately.
Yeah, that's right. Yep. So one thing on that, of course, is we talked about Evo magazine and we talked about Caterham. If you haven't seen it already, John and I recently went with Evo magazine to a track day. We got to drive a Caterham around, so we'll put a card up so that you can go and watch that as a little bit of an after party. Go ahead and enjoy that. So that's all we've got time for this time round for the Top Drive show. Sorry we're a week late. We will try and return to regular cadence as soon as we can. It should be fine for next time. But otherwise, thanks very much, John, for joining me. And thank you for playing Top Drives. And this has been the Top Drive show.